What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Ryan. Today I'm going to be eating some linguine pasta. Now, as you know, I'm posting this on Valentine's Day, so, if you don't have somebody, welcome to the Singles Club. I am the presiding member. And then if you have someone and you're enjoying your Valentine's Day, fuck you. Just kidding. But, no, so today I'm just going to do my normal pasta, but this is linguine, and I don't normally have linguine, I just have spaghetti. But, today also, for dessert, I will be having, red velvet cake is my favorite. It's usually only for my birthdays, but I figured Valentine's Day because I need something that's red, red pasta, red cake that I'll be eating because it's Valentine's Day, and this isn't exactly Valentine's Day related, but I saw it in Publix and I had to get it. Calypso strawberry lemonade. These are bomb. So if you've never had Calypso drinks, they're awesome. Very sugary, so don't get addicted to them, but I have them every now and again. So today I thought, because everyone's so busy living life with significant others, romantic partners. I don't really have a lot of experience in this area. I actually have zero experience in this area. I thought it'd be interesting if someone talked about kind of like situations, not like relationships that didn't work out, but like failed attempts at even getting there. I'm sure everyone has a failed crush story, or like a failed, everyone's failed once, or twice, or thrice. So I feel like it'd be very interesting if I shared you my experiences, because that's something I have not talked about on the channel. So, please stay tuned, and if you like it, let me know in the comments. Anyways, so, the first story I'll tell, because it's the first kind of, I don't know, it's not like a super interesting story, but it's one of those things that I look back on and go, dang, I wish I was paying more attention, because this, so, way back when I was, I want to say I was 16. So this is young, right? Okay. I'm an old man now. I'm 25. But I was 16 and I was in high school, obviously. But I mean, if you guys know my story, which I've mentioned a few times on videos, but if you're new, I used to be homeschooled. But I was homeschooled for most of my school years. But for the last 2 years, I went to a public school and got a high school diploma, like a good boy. And so I was in this type of program, like an extracurricular thing. You could get into clubs and stuff, and I was in FBLA, if anyone's done that. It stands for, I believe, for Future Business Leaders of America. So it's kind of like you get in there, and a lot of people just do it. Everyone, and this is kind of my reason I did it, for something to do, and my buddy was in there. But you do it for a good college application. That's what everyone says. Because there's things you can get done and extra credit and things that you can just do that makes your college application like so much better for whatever thing you want to get into. So people would do that if they wanted to get into marketing. They knew what they wanted to do, like business communication or marketing. They get into that. Well, I did it just because it was fun. Also, there was this thing this is a tangent, I'm sorry. There was this thing in my high school where the FBLA people would sell Dairy Queens, and there was these little Dairy Queen blizzards, but I said Dairy Queen's like their commodity. No, like Dairy Queen blizzards, you know what I'm saying? But they were these they gotta be like 4 to 6 ounce cups of ice cream, but they sold them for like $5 each to regular people. But if you were in FBLA, they sold them to you for $1, which is still overpriced. But me and my buddy, we'd buy like a couple each. And that was like the main reason we did it. But anyways, well, that was my main reason. He did probably have different reasons, but we had this thing where I think if you got like a certain, I forget if it was a school thing. I think it might have even been a school thing, but I think it was an FBLA thing where we got to go to a fair and you had to get like a certain grade or whatever, but you could get tickets through. I believe that's what happened. We got tickets through FBLA. You had to sign up for it. We could go to the fair in my city. Well, not in my city, the city next to my city, but basically, you know what I'm saying. And I went to the fair. At the time, I'm terrified of rides. At the time, I can get on roller coasters now, but I don't trust fair rides. Now, if you've ever seen that one fair ride where it kind of like picks you up and spins you around and you're seated for it, and you put like, the belts over like that. If you're seated for it, you are seated for it, and then it kind of spins you up, spins you like that, and then it kind of twists you around in a different direction. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a white and green ride from what I remember. Well, as my friends were on the ride, I was terrified. I was supposed to go up next. I wasn't in line, but they expected me to get in the next group, And I was making fun of the ride because I was scared of going on. I was saying, oh, man, it spins you this way and then it spins you that way. The way I deal with everything is humor. It doesn't matter what it is. I was feeling a lot of fear, but I was making jokes to like kind of keep a brave face because they were like kind of egging me to go on the ride, some of my other friends that were there. And I was really not wanting to go on the ride, but I didn't want to be a bitch. Because I ain't no pussy, That high school mentality. So, I was making fun of it. Because I was scared. And I was making this girl laugh next to me, and I didn't know the girl. She was just short. She was pretty. At least from what I remember. She was short and petite. Right next to me. And she was laughing at me the whole time. And I was kind of just like, I said, no, I'm not getting on the ride. So we were kind of like, I was making fun of it still, but we weren't really having conversation. But I could tell she was laughing at me, which made me make fun of it more because attention, Now, as my friends were getting off the ride, she turns to me, which makes me turn to her, and she goes, hey, so like, because I think she was asking she asked a few questions during the ride. She was like, hey, what school are you from? Who are you with? I was like, here with some friends. I'm at this school, and what school are you at? I think she said, I could be wrong. Well, I'm not gonna say the school she was from, but she would have been in a school that is about 30 minutes away from where I live, roughly in that direction. So like, I remember when I eventually did track in the next year, I went to that school and I thought about that, and I was like, dang. But anyways, because for track meets you got to go to different schools. You're not just doing a track meet at your school. I think we did one track meet at my school the whole time I was there, and I did track for like 2 years. So that year and next year, but because it didn't really like occur to me until like way later, and that's what I mean by like it didn't occur to me, and I was like, well, dang. I could have went to whatever. But anyways, so she was asking me, and then she went to ask me. She was going to ask me something. And she turned to me and like, she's kind of like gripping her fingers like this. This meme? She was basically almost doing it, except she kind of like it's like she was about to ask me a question that was maybe hard for her to ask. And I look back, and then right as she's about to ask the question, my friends be like, hey, Ryan, because when we were going to that event, we all had to stay together in our groups. If we weren't in our group, like, we had to stay together in our groups because we all came there on buses, right? Like a school event, so like no one wanted to get lost. So my friend comes off and then he's like, Ryan, come on. And I can't remember, this is the part I also feel bad about. I can't remember if I said goodbye or if I said, oh hey, sorry, it was nice meeting you, and I left. Like, I don't remember what I said. Chances are I basically just darted without saying anything, and I left her like, oh, okay, I guess that's the good answer. But I look back on that. Okay. God, I hope that's... Okay. If there's a loud buzzing sound, I'm sorry, but I might have tendonitis because I feel like there's a buzzing sound. Oh my God. Anyways, no. Oh yeah, no, that was all in my ears. Oh, okay. Because I didn't want the camera, I don't want the mic. If I listen back to this and there's no loud buzzing sound like I just heard right now, I have tendonitis in my ears for sure. Anyways, sorry. But anyways, so I basically darted away from this girl, and I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know what guys, we're just kind of stupid. I look back at that now and I'm like, bro, she was gonna ask for your number. I could have gotten this girl's number, and like that could have been like me dating like my first girlfriend or whatever. But I was so concerned with like I barely knew how to really even like have friends at this point. Like I had friends growing up, but like, not friends you hang out with every day, not friends. I mean, not since I was a little kid. And the point in saying that is I was still socially awkward, kind of. So I ran from her like a bat out of hell. And I still look back at that because I messed up. That could have been like even a talking situation. Like I had a phone back then. Even if we didn't go to the same school, I could have just been messaging, I mean, like, hey, because at that point, I would have been 2 years away from getting my license. That whole situation could have pushed me further to get my license early because I already had my car at that point. Or I think I was about to get my car. Anyways. So that's failed situation number one. And it didn't even turn into anything. But all these other failed situations. Wow. I'll leave that for the end. So, the next one. So, man, these are good. The reason I don't get them that often, they're very rich. And if I had them here all the time, I would just be drinking them and I would have diabetes tomorrow. With the way I eat, I'm surprised I'm not pre-diabetic, but I would have diabetes tomorrow if those were in my house. Anyways, so essentially, so like I said, I was homeschooled. And also, by the way, the reason there aren't many of these types of stories, or I don't have a lot of relationships and stuff, is like my parents are, well, they used to be when I was growing up very like Christian, conservative, traditional type people, right? So dating was not a thing. Okay, like dating was not, they even got into it with my older brother about dating, and they were not okay with that kind of stuff. So I never got the opportunity to really date anybody because my mom said, like, would you be able to date somebody, like, if you have no money? Like, if you're not able to have jobs, why date? Because you have no, like, freedom in that sense. When you're older, when you're 18, go and date. Which I realize now is just so stupid. It's very stupid. But I get that that's, like, the traditional way of looking at things, but I still think that's so stupid. Because if you are, there's more asked to, like, I think it's because, like, back then, in my parents' generation, the idea is like, well, if kids date, they're obviously gonna have sex, and then you don't want unwanted babies. But answers to questions. Now, it's kind of was used to just cheat, basically, but like people would have these threads up. Think of it kind of like Reddit. It was essentially like Reddit for just homework, and people would post like, okay, well, here's how you do this type of problem, and people would help each other in the comments. How do I answer this kind of question? And it was just one of those things where you could do a title, and then well, not even a title. You would just have a text box for like a post, and then people would comment underneath it in the categories. So there was like science, history, and all this stuff. And everyone used it to cheat. Basically, there would be posts getting taken down of how to do it. People just giving you the answer sheet. People would give the people just answer sheets, and they would get like people would get like banned and stuff for giving answers. But you could like they didn't IP ban anybody, so you could just make a new account, and then people would get banned all the time for different stuff. And what I used that at first, I was using it to get answers, but then I realized so there was these different chat rooms for all of these different places, right? So you could go to these different chat rooms. And people would be talking about, whatever. If you're in history, there's history chat, science chat, that kind of thing. No one uses the chats for what they were intended for, which was probably like, well, I don't know what they were really going for with that. People know people are going to talk, so everyone would just be in there kind of talking and chatting. And I would go in there, make some jokes, chat with people. All this happened, but was before I was in high school too, like public school, high school. This was back when I was like, it would have been around 13 to 15 that I was involved in this, because it got bought out by Brainly. That particular site, it merged into Brainly, but anyways. So I would, and I didn't want to do text messages when I was trying to talk to people. Like, let's say if I go on there into the chat room, and then I would start talking with someone. If I really liked them, I'd be like, hey, there was a PMing system, personal messages, like DMs. I'd DM them and be like, hey, like, what's up? What are you into? Or like, what do you like to do for fun? And all that kind of stuff. And then they would like message back, and then if it went like past 3 or 4 messages, because most people are not going to answer after like 2 or 3 messages, just because if they're not interested and that's not what they're there for, then like, that you can know, right? So I would do that, and then essentially I would be like, hey, here's my email. I would give them my email, because I would tell them to hit me up on Google Hangouts, because Google Hangouts, if anyone's aware, was one of those, like, so my parents are like, my mom's like 57, my dad's like 60. We were the kids that like figured out all of technology. Mom thought if I was talking to someone, she would go through my messages, and then she'd go through like different, or she wouldn't really know what to go through, and I could see in her face, but I could basically tell that she only looked at like my messages to see if I was messaging someone, and I would just tell her like I'm looking stuff up. If I'm texting with her, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm looking something up. I know, sneaky. But if I told her I was talking to a girl, she'd probably like take my phone, because that's how my mom was. So that was like my first instance of how to like, that's when I was figuring out like how to flirt, how to have conversations, how to like have long conversations throughout the day. I would be messaging and emailing like all day. I still look at those logs sometimes because I was like, and I would cringe because I'm like, oh Ryan, why did you think this was cool? But there would be like all the day conversations, like at 8 o'clock I'd message, hey, how are you doing? 8:12 they message back, oh I'm doing well, and then it would just go on and on and on and on and on, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so that's kind of what I did. And now as an adult, I feel kind of bad because like when I look back and look at some of those messages, the mindset that I was in back then, I'm the type of person, I still am, but I'm the type of person where I need like physical affection. I like it. Now I know with guys that's a little weird. It's not like a romantic thing with me. It's like well, it can be if it's women, right? But I'm saying like in general, I like hugs and stuff, physical contact. Like I'm very comfortable with physical contact, more than I would say most people. Nothing obviously nothing inappropriate, but like hugs and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you get what I'm saying. And so I deviate. I kind of, I'm talking to these people online. They're kind of like a vice. In my head, I didn't think this literally, but I felt more that this was more of a vice for not having friends that I physically could hang out with, and that they're not really were friends. And then a couple of crushes developed where I did feel like romantic type of feelings for the person, but I didn't want to start like an online relationship because I felt like that was dumb. Only one person lived near me. One was in Texas, one was in this other state. Like all of them were like miles and miles and miles away from me. So I just like felt like it could never work because everyone says, oh, long distance relationships never work. If I'm not allowed to date, then like if mom finds out, or if they would shut it all down, then I feel like it would be tragic anyway. So it's just like I had a lot of stuff going through my head as to why like that's a dumb idea. The main one being, this isn't physical, so is it even like real? But what's silly about that? It was always real to the girl, which makes me feel bad now because I didn't realize it then, and I didn't even conceptualize it. But I was 100% just leading them on because of trying to satisfy the need of like a connection, basically, which is unfair to them, and it was wrong for me to do. And we all lost touch, so I never got to apologize after I realized it. We all lost touch. Like, they stopped responding, so they probably blocked me, so. Good on them for ghosting me, right? But it kind of sucks, because if I knew they'd reply back, I would message them like, hey, remember when I was an idiot when I was like 14? My bad. Because I would get a couple of like on the homework website, but then I would also be like, they'd say, are we dating? And I'd go, no. I'd be like, okay. And then I'd continue flirting with them. And they're like, so we're dating? And I'd be like, no. And they're like, but you're being, like, you're saying this stuff. Like I'm saying, it'd be like, I didn't like saying it, but like, I'd be like, I love you, or whatever. Like, hey, babe, what's up? And it's like, and then they're like, oh, you're calling me babe, like, so we're dating. And I'm like, well, I like saying babe. I call everybody babe. It was the most gaslighty thing. I don't really call myself out, but it's just like, it was just the most gaslighty thing ever. It's like being all sweet, making you think I want to date you, and then I'd be like, nah. I thought I was like Ryan Reynolds or something, or Gosling. But yeah, so the last thing that didn't work out, it is cake time. this really good. Look at that in the back. That's kind of like whack, you know. Anyways, so this last situation was really my last workplace before I started doing all this like surgery and stuff for my health, you know. And I can't really work right now. I mean, I'm looking maybe for like an online gig, but I don't know if that's gonna even work out. But I can't really like physically work right now, you know. So I used to work at Buc-ee's. If you're not sure what that is, it's a giant ass gas station with a gift shop inside of it. And they sell food in the middle of the store, like brisket and sandwiches and stuff like that. Pulled pork, that sort of thing. And I went there because they paid really good. They paid like $18 an hour. And for a job where you don't need that much experience, that's pretty much unheard of. At least in my area. Sorry for the chair. I'm rearranging because the way that my foot is it's falling asleep. And that's like really uncomfortable right now. So yeah, I was working at this place called Buc-ee's, and I worked on the line, which is essentially I make burritos and a bunch of other random stuff, but like, you know what like a line cook is? You just make all like you make you make ready to eat food, you know, but like you assemble food that's already made into things, and then you put them and you give them to the customer, and you call out when that order's ready. That's basically, if you've ever been inside a Buc-ee's, you know what I'm saying. If not, I'm sorry, watch a video. I worked in the deli. So basically, there's this girl. She was pretty cute, but which also, this made me realize, just as a side tangent, I don't mind if a woman's like slightly taller than me. Like, I know a lot of guys have an issue with that, but this woman like was easily as tall as me, if not like an inch or two taller, and it didn't matter. So I didn't flirt with her or anything like when she first started working there, but she first started working there when I was working there for already like a month, and then, or 2 months I think, and she was still kind of learning the ropes. And I realized, well, one day I was just like, in my head I was just like, what if I just like flirted with her? But I realized, what I noticed was like, when she was being told she was doing something wrong, but like in a funny way, or if she was told like, you know, the whole necking thing, right? I noticed that if a guy necked her, it made her smile, and she'd be like, oh, whatever. Then I did that a couple times, and then like I did my own thing of just trying to make her laugh or like be funny. Then by the end of the day, I realized, I was like, I wonder if I can get her number, or not really her number, but like I was wondering if I could. And then so like a day or two went by. I think I flirted with her a little bit off and on. Then, you know, I asked her for her number. This is actually funny. I didn't ask my number. I was like, yeah, so hey, you wanna like, this is so cringe. I was like, can I get your Instagram? Do you use Snapchat? And she's like, you don't want my number? And she said it with like a slight grin, and I was like, oh, yeah, no, let me get that. That's if that's what you want. And that kind of thing. And so yeah, she like, we had to work, and you know, you can't like stop what you're doing at that place and like go grab it. So she said, you know, she said like, oh hey, yeah, I was gonna like grab a piece of paper or whatever. So she like went and grabbed a piece of paper. Like a couple hours later, I didn't think she was gonna really do it. Like at work, you're not allowed to have your phone. At that job, you're not allowed to have your phone out. So it's not like on break I could have gotten it. So she wrote it on a little piece of paper, gave it to me, and I did Messenger. I think what I was gonna do was like, I remember I was talking to her about working out, and at the time I was really interested. I was really like fit at that time. Still had a little bit of a belly, but I was pretty strong. And I was telling her like, yeah, no, like if you want to get back in the gym, I have a gym membership and I can teach you stuff and stuff. And I was like, I can help you, lift weights or whatever. And then she's like, oh, okay, that'd be cool. And that was the thing that like was gonna be my in. And can't remember what in response to something I said, but she said something about like I love a man who takes charge or something, and it was a response to something I said clever, but I can't remember. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, okay, I have a shot. But I realized that like I can't take this any further because of my condition. So I messaged her. She messaged back, and I never messaged her again. I straight up ghosted her. This video makes me look bad. Oh, I'm gonna lose all my female viewership. All my female viewership. Y'all gonna be like, Ryan, you ghosted some. You are the guy that we all. Sorry. No, but with my like skin condition and stuff, it was starting to get a little bit worse too. With my skin condition, it was starting to get a little bit worse too. And honestly, a month after that, I literally had to like quit working. So, I really couldn't have even started dating or working out or anything like that because I decided to get the surgery. So, that again, I feel bad about, but like, I just felt like maybe she'd be able to accept it, but I felt like, also again, if anything intimate happened, it would not be good. So I'd just be like, man. So it's just that kind of thing, The person is like, better to love than lost than I never loved at all. I'm like, I'm not so sure about that one, buddy. I have lost, but I've not exactly loved yet. So I'm kind of on the both ends of the spectrum. But yeah. It was just weird because like my background of not really being able to date didn't really prepare me for like the expectations of dating. So what I feel like is if you don't teach your kids, like if you don't allow them to date, it doesn't mean they're gonna start like popping babies out at 13. Just teach them like the proper expectations and like guide them through it. I don't think it's like super necessary for a kid to date, but if a kid's like 16, what they're probably thinking, well, I was a 16-year-old and I realized that, but like genuinely it's just nice to have like companionship. Maybe that's the older me talking, but I feel like if you start dating at 18, there are like some people are just gonna have different expectations because they've already had relationships before. And people say high school relationships don't count, but I'm like, they may not count, but like, you learn things, and it makes you understand like certain behaviors and expectations. I don't know. Because if someone explained to me when I was 14, like, hey Ryan, when you're setting expectations of like that it's gonna go somewhere, because you unconsciously set expectations, okay? When it's like, oh, when you set expectations of to people that things are gonna go somewhere, and then you never let them go there. You don't make your intentions known up front about what you want, and you kind of just like lead girls on about like back then I was so desperate for connection. It was kind of just like, I don't know if to pass me, any of that would have mattered. It probably would have changed my behavior, but I wouldn't have like, it would have changed my behavior. I would have recognized it, but the underlying issue was like not enough social, because playing games to socialize, it does work, and I think that does work for a lot of people. But for me, I need a combination of both, hanging out in person and online. If it's someone I've met in person and we're playing online, that fulfills. Even having long conversations with people who are like trying to understand you, that does work. But I like being able to like, oh, let's go down the street and get like, or not down the street, but let's go to our favorite spot and get something to eat, or that kind of thing. Like, I value that a lot. So it wouldn't have soothed my like loneliness, but it would have made me a better communicator, because I had to realize that by like just maturing and reflecting on it. I didn't just like all of a sudden come to that conclusion. I just kind of slowly realized it over the years about like my behavior. And how crappy it was. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Like, subscribe, comment, share the video with your friends. I also have channel memberships available if you want to support the channel. I think I'm going to start creating channel membership videos, but I don't know what to do yet. If you're still listening, give me some ideas of what I should provide for your channel members. Anyways, yeah, thank you so much for checking out the video. Hope you guys have a wonderful Valentine's Day, and I hope you guys, just spend it with your loved one, or if you're single like me, hey, eat some food, watch a TV show. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. If you're single on Valentine's Day, who cares? It's a stupid holiday anyway. But I hope everyone enjoys their day or night. You guys have a great rest of it, and I'll see you next time. Just in case those didn't work. Alright, that should be enough for editing Ryan to work with, and fuck you if it's not.